Hello, welcome to the Concussion Discussions series brought to you by Integrated Brain Centers. I am your host, Amy Zellmer from Faces of TBI, and today I am here with Dr. Erik Reis from the Neural Connection, and we're going to be talking about the power of perception and healing. So welcome to the series, Dr. Reis.
Thanks, Amy. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, and so I'm excited to talk about this topic and the power of perception on our healing. I'm really excited to dig into it. And so I guess where would you like to start with it?
Well, I think it's such an important topic because nobody's really talking about it. I think that when patients come to the office, they've either been diagnosed with a condition, or if we're fortunate enough, we're one of the first providers to be able to encounter this individual. And what I've found over the years of practicing is that most people don't even have the knowledge to ask the questions to get the answers that they're truly looking for. Doctor is Latin for teacher or to teach. It comes from the Latin root docere. And very few medical providers are out there actually teaching and educating their patients about what to expect, questions that they should be asking other providers, how they should be handling different providers' opinions, and really coming together as a team to formulate a plan for this patient. And so I think first and foremost, our perceptions about what to expect are so skewed because if you've never been in a medical crisis, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. And as we can both attest to, that's scary. Right? Whether you're the patient, whether you're the provider, or whether you're, fortunately for me, a combination of both. I've been a patient way before I was a doctor. And so I think we really have to open up the dialogue about having these conversations and, more importantly, educating patients on behalf of what to expect. And it slowly trickles into, once we start doing therapies, treatments, rehab, patients' perceptions. Because if you think you're going to get better just like that in one session, there's a high chance you're probably going to be let down pretty quick.
Yeah.
But if you understand the expectations of what therapy and treatment should have over days, weeks, and months, we set ourselves up for success. And the brain is a master predictor. Your frontal lobe, the front part of your brain, spends a ton of time predicting what's going to happen in your reality. And then once you get this feedback and this information about your environment, it kind of has this internal checks and balances going on with saying, yep, that happened. No, this didn't happen. Yep, I went to grab my cup of coffee. I thought I was, 5 inches away. It was 6. You nick it a little bit, it falls off. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to remember that next time. So our brains are so powerful and they handle so many things for us that we really don't appreciate until we lose them. Mm-hmm. And I think just the power of belief and understanding our beliefs and how they can shape our outcomes is something that is so powerful. And when patients understand that and they're educated to really come to terms with how significant that can be for their outcomes and their ability to heal, all bets are off. Your brain is limitless, and I'm a big believer that we are all limitless in some way, shape, or form. When we get to that deeper level and really digest that, amazing things can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, anyone who's followed me for any length of time knows that I talk a lot about, the power of positivity. And, if you're stuck in that negative cycle of this sucks and I'm never going to get better, you're not going to get better. You have to believe that you can get better. And, I forget the statistics, but it's something like we're 50% more likely, like negativity is 50 times more contagious than positivity.
Sure.
So we have to work harder at being positive versus negative. Like, it's crazy. And I mean, it's so much easier to go down the self-sabotaging rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, we never learned that in school, right? School's not teaching you how to handle life stressors. School doesn't teach you how to, do your taxes. School doesn't teach you how to save money to form a retirement plan. And so, I'm not faulting the education system, but I do think we can do a better job. Specifically in healthcare, I think it's so important for providers to be able to have conversations with their patients. And it's unfortunate that our systems, with where a lot of providers are with hospitals and clinics, they're only given a specific amount of time to see the patient, do an examination, diagnose them, and then treat them. They don't really have a significant amount of time to form that relationship, to have a conversation, to communicate I think that the power of social media and posting and kind of putting that information out there, which you have done phenomenally, is so important, because then patients know kind of where they can go or who to turn to if they come into a situation where they don't really understand how to navigate it. But I think one of the bigger components with this too is, from a doctor's perspective, we learn about the body and muscles and joints and the spine, and then going into neurology, you learn about the brain and eye movements and all of these different systems, right? And so we have this roadmap of these pathways and kind of how to think through this stuff. But all of that goes out the window when you realize that that patient has everything like that in front of you, and then they have a cortex, and they have a brain, and they have perceptions. And no
Right.
matter how well you think you can fix somebody, if they don't believe that you're the person to be able to do that, they'll never get as better as they could if they just truly believed in you. And I think that kind of just reinforces the fact that, medicine really should be about building relationships. And it's not just relationships in the office, it's building trust, it's communicating effectively, it's, putting out content for people to read and understand why you do what you do. And it's just so powerful. The power of the placebo effect, there's a reason why every single high quality study is compared to the placebo effect, is because the brain is very good at tricking us and convincing us that we see things when we don't, or that we hear things when we don't. Interestingly enough, I read an article earlier last week talking about how the brain's perceptions of what you expect to hear, you are more apt to hear when you have that, compared to just like standardized like notes or music or even like sentences. Your brain will perceive what you think it'll perceive or what you believe to perceive versus what is actually being told to you. And it just goes to show you that our perceptions aren't always accurate and informal with what our reality is giving us. For the most part, they are, right. Like if you see a car coming, don't like think you can just stop it with your mindset or willpower. But if you really want to dig into that rabbit hole, Donald D. Hoffman is a cognitive neuroscience at UC Irvine in California, and he's been studying like reality in our perceptions about how we look at the world and how we perceive the world. And he has a pretty interesting take on how what we see with the world really isn't as accurate as we would like to believe it. He uses the analogy of a desktop. So when we click on our computer and we go click on our email, we have this little, file that looks like a folder for an envelope. And so you click on that and you open up, and your email pops up, and you can type away and do all this stuff. But behind the scenes, there's all of this coding going on, like 1011 repeated over time. And, you start getting in different codes of like C++ and all these different languages. Well, it's kind of the same thing for our objective world. If you see that coffee cup in front of you, I mean, you see the coffee cup, you feel it, but you forget that that's composed of particles, atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, all these things that are oscillating and vibrating. And you can go down the rabbit hole pretty quickly with that. I think the high, picture, the big picture of what that comes down to is that what you perceive is not always what you should believe. And so there's so many components that go into that. At the end of the day, finding somebody who's willing to share a conversation, a comment, and some information with you can take you as a individual or a patient so far, because you build trust with them. And all that too, you can believe in what they're going to be able to help you do. And I think that for me is something that I was never taught in school, that I've had to just learn on my own. And I'm very grateful that I've been able to use that to help my patients get changes that they may not have had anywhere else.
Mhm. Yeah. And, I mean, I've told my story so many times, but it was 2.5 years till I found functional neurology. And up until that point, I had seen probably, I don't know, maybe 10 different types of doctors. And no one had really spent more than 20 to 30 minutes tops with me. And when I went for my Funk Neuro exam, and it was 2 hours long. And, things were explained to me and validated what I'd been feeling and experiencing. And just that sense of validation alone was like, okay, wow, maybe we can get better here. Like,
Yeah.
because I'd just been told by the neurologist and everybody else that there was nothing we can do for you. And then now to have this hope, yeah, we can help you.
Yeah.
And, I know I did work with you early on, and you were always so positive. I remember having to do the fire hydrant move for
Yes, yes.
PT stuff. And like, you're like, okay, like I couldn't do it. I had torn my abdominal muscles and stuff in my fall. And so like you're like, that's okay. We don't have to do this one. Let's do this instead. And, like, I mean, it was just, everything was so positive within my funk neuro bubble, right?
Yes.
Like everybody that worked with me was so positive and encouraging, and like they truly believed they could help me, which translated to me believing that I could get better.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's so powerful. And that's something, once again, that not many people have been taught. Not many people have been shown that they can change. Their decisions can dictate their outcomes. I mean, it's a classic analogy of you see a glass. Is it half empty or is it half full? And it comes down to even conversations about money too, right? If you always think you don't have enough money, you don't have enough money, you never have enough money, you will never have enough money. But if you're grateful and you're always optimistic and you're like, I'm so grateful, I'm so fortunate to have this amount of money, that law of attraction kind of comes back and can be really powerful. I think one of the most difficult things for me as a provider is that I've just seen so many patients come in that I've wanted to help that I haven't been able to help because I haven't been able to help them shift their mindset. And the reason why we do examinations for 90 minutes, 2 hours, I mean, some clinics even do 3 hours on first day exams, is because we need to establish that relationship and we need to educate. And when patients have the knowledge to truly ask the questions to get the answers they're looking for, that's when things start changing. And I hope to see more people in the future have conversations like this, share more content, and really educate patients, not just to share a journal article or to say, hey,
Right.
this is something that we do in the office. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And then when you get to that junction, that's when you can start talking about, different things that you offer or why you do what you do. I think just sharing a philosophy is an important concept. And I wish I had more time to understand my patient's psychology before I got to see them. Maybe that's something we'll be able to implement in the future, but it's such an important thing. And I think you and I would both attest to that, not only in our personal and professional lives. It's carried us to great lengths and has allowed us to do some really fun things that we've been able to accomplish. So
Yeah. And, talking about educating and teaching, and I am seeing more and more funk neuros putting out like on Instagram. Instagram's a great tool. They're putting out, because now you can do those carousels where you scroll through the
yeah,
images, and, they're putting out like, why am I dizzy? And then like with pictures, and then they're explaining like how the vestibular system works
I
or
love that.
how eye tracking works. And, it's like yes, that I know it's a lot of work, and it's probably something that you can have someone else doing, like have your social media team. But that's like what's so critical to trickling it down to the patient and helping them understand. And yeah, you're so right. Like just teaching, not just posting, here's a journal article that explains dizziness.
Well,
I
there's such a
can't
disconnect.
understand that.
There's such a disconnect between the language that we're taught in med school
Yeah.
to, just the Latin terms of medicine. And when you get to the layman conversation, you lose people. You disconnect with them. You don't build trust. And if anything, you almost separate yourself from them and take yourself further away from being able to help them because you're just not able to relate to them. I mean, there are some brilliant, brilliant minds out there who have a difficult time connecting with patients because they just can't communicate effectively. And it's not even saying that you have to dumb things down. You just have to connect with the individual. If
Yeah.
you go talk to your financial advisor and they start talking to you about, stocks and bonds and ETFs, and they start talking to you about, P&L portfolios and all of these different terms, you're like, I don't know what's going on. Do you feel comfortable investing your money with them? I
Right.
mean, rarely, right? I mean, some people will be like, yeah, they sound really smart, so we'll do it, but you might get taken for a ride. So, it really comes down to, as a provider for me, I'm just always aware, like my primary goal always with new patients and existing patients, I'm here to teach, but I'm also here to influence you and empower you to own what we talk about because knowledge is useless without application. How can I get you to take steps, do your exercises, change your diet, change your sleep, and essentially help eliminate myself from the equation? Um, I'm cool, but I'm not that cool. I don't want patients hanging in my office any longer than they need to.
Yeah.
My job is to get them in, to fix them up, and to get them out and living their life because I hope at the end of the day, if I need to get put back together, the doctors that I have that same philosophy of educating me, giving me the interventions and treatments that I need, and then helping me getting back to living the life that I want to, because that's what true medicine should be, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and I think going back to the beginning of our conversation, you talked about expectations. And if you go into it expecting, and I hear this like a lot, like people expect like a miracle after one session. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, it's going to take like, if you're doing an intensive, it's going to take a couple days till you start feeling the difference. And um you might even feel really crappy the first day or two, but then you kind of like get past that barrier and then you start seeing the results. And
Yeah.
I know for me, I was probably an anomaly because like after my first treatment with my eye exercises, I was like, holy crap, like I felt a total difference. um but I think my eyes were so I'm more in tune with my eyes probably as a photographer than like the average person too. But
But there's
um
something to be said about that, and as a provider, I love those grand slams where you're seeing somebody comes in with a BPPV, they got crystals in their inner ear, they've had them for years, all of a sudden you do a maneuver and they're like, wow, like my balance is better. I can see clear. I can walk without feeling like I'm intoxicated. Those are fun cases to have. But they're not that common. And so you're right. Like there are moments where people have those breakthroughs, whether it's day 1, day 3, day 5, or even like a week or two after an intensive, a treatment, a therapy, whatever it is. When you get those glimpses and those moments of change, I think it's such a powerful thing. It's an awakening for people to realize that they're not stuck that way.
Mhm.
And one of the most common phrases I tell patients when they come to me, I'm like, here's the deal. You're not broken. You're not stuck this way. You have been put into a situation that you probably didn't sign up for. This most likely wasn't on your bucket list. And I highly doubt anybody wrote you a book on how to handle this, right? So, in that context, you are kind of in this wild, wild west scenario, and you have been told to figure it out. And that's where good providers can come together, have those conversations, and make a huge difference in the lives of these patients. I think the quality of life is the biggest thing that I continue to remind myself about. Even though we've taken away headaches, we've done things like that. Can these patients get back to knitting? Can they get back to driving? Can they get back to hanging out with their family? Can you be the grandparent that's hanging out with your kids again, your grandkids again? Those are important factors we want to get back to. Yes, they want to be pain free, but they don't want to be pain free laying in their basement, lights shut off, not able to do anything. The functional component of that is so important. And I think that is one of the big things that really distinguishes functional neurology or functional rehab, is that we want to get people back doing the things that we want to do. Life is short and you only get one set of tires. And so we need to do as much as we can to help you do the things that you want to do. So at the end of the day, you can hang your hat on that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I know you and I were just talking just the other day about just even a year ago to today, how much better I'm doing. And I bring that up just as, I'm 4.5 years out from when I did my intensive and my original treatment. And I'm really not getting much funk neuro treatment anymore. I'm
Yeah.
just getting like general chiropractic and body work done to help with like my neck, like muscular work done.
Yeah.
And like I'm still improving and
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and you're also doing a lot of things on your own too, right? You're doing yoga. You're going through your yoga certification. You're writing. You have found this amazing passion of yours that you get to use as an outlet to not only help more people, but create a career and a profession out of this by being able to bring people together and educate them. You've found a purpose. And for so many of those out there who are struggling, who feel like they've lost that, um, you know, life is cyclic, but it also comes in waves as well too. And if you would have asked yourself the question of what you'd be doing today, 5 years ago, you'd be like, I have no idea. But now here you are. Look, you're flourishing. You're chasing after goals and dreams, and you're doing so much to help others. You've once again found a purpose and a mission. And I think that once again just reinforces the fact that when you find something that can motivate you and empower you to take action, you're limitless. Your brain will continue to change and grow. we have yet to determine, the true potential or the true limitation of the mind. But now we know there are different areas of the brain that, you can't have new cells produced, but, even 20, 30 years ago, we thought your brain was just stuck growing and you really didn't gain new neurons. Well, now we know that that's not true. You get them in different parts of your olfactory system. You get new neurons in your hippocampus, which is important for formation of memories and visual spatial awareness, and taking into account different types of fear responses. So who knows what we're going to find in the next 5 years? Who knows what we're going to find in the next 10 years? Sky is the limit as far as I'm concerned. At the end of the day, it really comes down to understanding the brain and understanding people and putting the best tools together to help people help rebuild their house. And you've done that. You're a great example of that. Your tribe is so lucky to have you as a leader because they get to see, and most of them have seen, the transformation that you've undergone over the days, weeks, and months that you've been doing this. So kudos to you, because you've owned a lot of that, and you are the reason why you've come so far in that short period of time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, Dr. Reis, this has been such a great conversation. And if people want to learn more about you, we have all your information below this video. And your website is theneuralconnection.com. And they can find you on Instagram and Facebook, Dr. Erik Reis. And if anyone wants to learn a little bit more about you, see if you're the right fit to work with you, they can call and schedule a consultation.
Yep. I will always talk to people for free. And my whole reasoning for doing that is that I will be the first person to let somebody know if I think I can help them. And I'll also be the first person to let them know if I don't think I can. And if I can't, I'll find somebody else who can. We're so fortunate within this community to have amazing other funk neuros in different areas of the world. On top of that too, just other providers, physical therapists, MDs, different types of medical practitioners who do things differently than what we do. And I think that team effort and that team coordination is such an important aspect to getting people better and to living the life that they truly want. So all I can do is be honest and let you know what I think I can do to help you.
Awesome. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any videos in this series. Like this video and head to Amazon to purchase Concussion Discussions.